Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Bulls on Tap. I am your boy Buzz, and I am joined by a plethora of guests here tonight for the season review show of Bulls on Tap. I'm joined by Goose, a.k.a. Bulls Scripted. I'm joined by Matt Berkland at ChaiBurk96, and the man known as Arcturus Fan Club, Ross. We're here to talk about the Bulls season, shit that we saw, shit that we liked, shit that we didn't like, the whole nine. Grab a beer, crack them. It's going to be a good show. So before we get into it, be sure to go on tapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Bulls on Tap, at On Tap Sportsnet. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us, 5-star rating and review, because that's cool and tough. Also, go to BetRivers, betrivers.com. Use promo code ONTAP. Your first deposit, they'll match up to $250 of that. So go check that out if you get the chance. Boys, it's a season recap show. I'm sure we didn't get everything that we wanted to get because the Bulls missed the playoffs. But there are good things to look at, even though the Bulls finished 31-41. That's good for 11th in the NBA Eastern Conference. A little depressing when I say it because there's a 10-team fucking play-in. But hey, the future's bright. The future's bright. So we'll start with our guest here tonight, our Taurus Fan Club, Ross. How are you doing tonight, first of all, man? And give me your thoughts on the Bulls. Let's ride right into it.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be on the pod. This is a lot of fun. But the season really wasn't. I like some things. I didn't like some things. I'm excited for the future. Obviously, I'm Arcturus Fan Club. That's like the whole shtick.
It's a good shtick.
It's a good shtick. Hopefully it works out. We'll see. I'm feeling pretty good going into next season. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get taken care of in the off season. But like you said, a little disappointing, but future's still bright.
Burke, how you feeling, brother?
Yeah, I know the season's a little disappointing, but I think, we've got something to build with now, and we have a little bit of a direction, which we didn't have last year. So let's see what happens.
Absolutely. Goose, I know we didn't do the last two games considering I was in Wisconsin and they got fucking they lost to Brooklyn, then they lost to Milwaukee, or they beat Milwaukee, I'm sorry, but it wasn't good enough to get in. So how are you feeling, my man?
I don't know. I think we were 11th last year too, and we didn't get invited to the bubble. Kind of outside looking in again, but the ending of this season does feel different than last year. Last year, everybody wanted to jump off a cliff. We all had our pitchforks out. We luckily, got the changes that we wanted, and we got a good coach now. We have two all-stars. They might be B-list all-stars as much as we'll, probably beat that like a dead horse throughout their existence together. We do still have two all-stars. We have a direction, which is something we haven't had since we traded Jimmy Butler. So what options will be available this offseason might be limited. Maybe they roll over the cap. But I'm excited to see what the hell we do. Just knowing that we have this core assembled and we should be something next year looking at the East.
Absolutely. We're welcoming in Jordan Miller as well. Jordan, I know you're a little late to the party, but we're bringing you in. What did you think about the season this year, man? Oh, having technical difficulties. Technical difficulties with Jordan. Anyway, we'll get to Jordan in a minute. But yeah, so this season for me was kind of a letdown, especially because I thought Zach was balling out in the beginning of the year. I'm sure all of you can agree with that. He was a model of consistency. He was a first-time NBA All-Star, and it just didn't work out the way that we wanted it to work out, which sucks. After the deadline, as we could talk about being competitive, because we were hovering around, what was it, the 8th seed before the All-Star break? We were hovering around that point. And then after the break, we get into the deadline, and we acquire Nikola Vucevic. I did it right, Burke? I did it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so I did it right. And I don't know if him and Zach didn't mesh. I mean, feel free to take the fucking mic from me, too. This is bar talk right now. I'm having a beer. Feel free to take it from me anytime you guys want. But it just didn't pan out. And then obviously Zach goes down with COVID. And we had the whole Bulls Nation debate. Is this team better without Zach LaVine? And it's
not.
They're not. And I agree. I agree that they're not. And it was just kind of telling to a fan base that has just been in, let's be honest here, guys, since Derrick Rose has been gone. I know we had the 3 alpha year, but and that wasn't even that fucking great. They were 500. So, it's just where I sit right now, I'm putting trust in AK. I didn't like the Patrick Williams pick. I mean, we all did that live. I mean, I know you weren't here with us, Ross, when we did the live, but we might or might not have had alcohol in us, and I was not happy with it at all. And
I didn't know who he was. I had to research him after the fact. Like, I was not an expert on Patrick Williams by any means.
Who did you want?
I mean, I wanted to trade up for LaMelo. And then I think back then I was like, if we don't trade up, like take Obi Toppin. I don't know. Yeah,
Obi Toppin.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I liked Okoro a lot too. It was a weird pick. Having number 4 was really weird in that draft because you had the top 3 guys, and then after that, it was like, do you want to take Denny? Is that a reach? Like, what do you want to do? But I mean, after the fact, Patrick Williams, I'm very happy with the pick. I really like the kid.
It feels like number 4 every year kind of feels that way. It's like the top 3 are pretty much guaranteed star feeling going into the draft, and then after that, it's the drop off. And that's a tough spot for a franchise to be in for your first pick. You're gifted this awesome thing in the top 4, but that comes with a lot of pressure and expectations, and that's echoed for Patrick Williams as well. And it was awesome to see at the season-ending press conference where Pat owned that, and he said that's not natural for me, but I know what the expectations are. I know I have the skills and the tools to achieve great things in this league, and I want to be remembered as, one of the all-time greats. So hearing that from his mouth was very reassuring to me because the tools are evident. The pedigree, so to say, not starting in college to starting this year and not really going to a winning school at FSU, at least not winning with anything major. There's concerns there, but the fact that he owned that at the end of the season was something that was really encouraging, and with it following a 24-point game, that doesn't hurt either.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Pat showed a lot of flashes throughout the year of what can be, and I'm excited for that moving into the future. I mean, you guys see he's got a quick step, which is surprising for how big he is, and he's laterally very quick, which is also nice, and he could put a body on guys. I just the aggressiveness is what you pointed out, and what he said in his ending presser was something that I would have loved to see, but I have to also take a step back and realize a 19-year-old rookie in the NBA, not a lot of COVID and all that shit this year with not a lot of practices. The training camp was kind of fucked up because when we hired Billy, he wasn't there when they were doing their first initial practices, correct? If I'm right on that, I think I am. He wasn't there.
I think one of Billy's kids actually had COVID, so Billy had to quarantine for an extended period before joining the team, if I recall correctly.
Right. They had the assistant coaches do like the Bulls bubble is what it was, and Billy wasn't even there.
And that was it's a struggle. I mean, I know that he implemented a system as much as that he possibly could with the restrictions that were taking place and when he got there after his hire and all of that. But I'm looking into an optimistic future, and I'm looking at Pat Williams and thinking that he could be, I don't want to say a number 1 option because that'll just come back and bite me in the ass. I feel like I don't want to give that fucking bad juju to the kid and just have it turn into like I jinxed him. But I see tons and tons of potential with him, and I'm looking forward to having him paired next to Vooch and Zach. And I'd really like to fucking see him as a 4, maybe with another 3 next to him, because I liked him at the 3 when we drafted him because I feel like how, like I said, laterally quick he is, and I think he could play that position. But I'm interested to see him at the 4. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on that.
He should play the 4 in my opinion, and I think Summer League will be huge for him.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that because, like you were saying, Goose, like him saying he wants to be more aggressive, he knows that he needs to do that. Well, he just spent his 19-year-old season defending the best player on every team we played for the whole season. Now he's going to step into Summer League with a bunch of scrubs, if we're being realistic, and he has the chance to dominate those guys. That would be great for his confidence. So I'm really excited for that.
Well, if he has to guard Denzel, Summer League Denzel is another fucking monster.
I'm
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, but the Shanghai Sharks don't have the Shanghai Sharks don't play in the Summer League. That's ridiculous.
I mean, I think sometimes they come and visit, and they actually do play European.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, you are right.
So, we might see Denzel playing for the Shanghai Sharks. He might sneak into Summer League again, folks. Hold on to your seats here.
But Buzz, going back to your point earlier, like I agree. I don't necessarily agree with you being a number one option, but I'd say he's got to be the number one defender on the team. Because let's put it this way, no one on the roster now is going to be, number one at defense. And I don't see that many options in free agency as a true number one defender who's going to go out and guard a guy like at the 3 or the 4 that's an elite scorer. So that's what he's got to mold into.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Jordan, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, that's weird. I do StreamYard with other people, and my mic doesn't work, so I have to go off my computer to do it now. It's weird.
Hey, you're very, very quiet, like alarmingly quiet. Yeah, I'm trying to turn you up here a little bit. It's not working. Try to fix that if you can. But yeah, because it's very quiet. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like another good point to be made here is you brought up the Shanghai Sharks, and Kobe White was a guy that a lot of people said was going to be playing for the Shanghai Sharks. Was that? It wasn't you, was it?
I don't know who said that. That dude sounds like an idiot.
But I was really encouraged what I saw out of him. Towards the end of the season there when he got the reins when Zach went down with COVID and being in the NBA health and safety protocol list. And Zach invited him and Pat to off-season workouts this year. And obviously at times it didn't work with him and Zach because they play a very similar game. And I felt like when they were starting together, because I'm going to be honest right now, I wanted Kobe starting the whole time. I did not want the Sato thing because I don't see Sato as a part of the future. You have a young talent like Kobe White, who's 21, 20. He's going to be 22 next year, I think. And I didn't want him riding the bench. Even if we were going to be competitive, we weren't going to be. If you go back to the season preview show, season preview show. I think I said they were going to have like 34 wins, 33, 34. It wasn't too far off at 31. But I wanted Kobe to start because I wanted him to learn to play with Zach in a consistent manner. And going to the press conferences, Arturis, I know he said some things that I don't believe, like, they really want Lauri Markkanen back next year. And I just don't really buy into that. Again, take the floor from me if anybody has opinions on that. But he spoke the same of Kobe. And I'm wondering if Kobe's back. And I would love for Kobe to be back. I would. I like Kobe White. But anybody got thoughts on that?
I don't know how Kobe wouldn't be back. And I guess maybe this is the trap we fall into. And then we end up losing guys how we're about to lose Lauri. But Kobe's potential is just greater than his trade value. What are you going to get back for Kobe? Can you even get a first-round pick for Kobe? If you can, is it close to the lottery, even the back end, like 12 to 16, somewhere in that range, right before you hit those 20s, somewhere in the teens? Could you get a pick of that value in a deep draft like this? Maybe try to find that 3 that could be there if Troy Brown Jr. isn't who, some of us, myself included, think he can be. Going forward, because that's an under-the-radar acquisition that I almost forgot about entirely after he had his ankle injury, and he hasn't played to finish the season. But Pat at the 4 and Troy Brown Jr. at the 3, in between Zach and Vooch with whoever we get at a point guard, that's an instant upgrade at your perimeter defense to help, cover for your 2 offensive-heavy all-stars here. So it's just a trap with Kobe. I don't know what you could get for him, and I think the value he could bring you off the bench with the confidence he's gained could be huge, though he cut the fro. So maybe the superpowers disappear again. I don't know.
Or it makes him better. You never know.
More aerodynamic.
God,
More
you beat me to it. God damn it.
Yeah.
You beat me to it.
If you want Lonzo, though, you probably got to trade Kobe.
Why? Billy, we had a lot of success in OKC with Schroeder, Shai, and CP3, and obviously Lonzo is by no means CP3, but he is a good perimeter defender. Zach, Kobe, and Lonzo are all 6'5 plus, so you could fit them 1 through 3 with somebody like Pat at the 4.
I would love that.
And
Yeah.
maybe get away with that. Maybe not as a starting lineup, but in stretches and maybe to close the game, you could go to that. So I think Lonzo could actually be really good for Kobe in a lot of ways.
I just don't think the Pelicans would take a trade without Kobe White. I don't know what they would accept, and I feel like our assets are kind of limited. But I love that idea of going 3 guards and then putting Pat at the 4. I think that would be really fun.
And I think we're all in agreement that it's going to be some sort of sign and trade, right? Like that's
Right.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless like the Knicks, this rumor of the Knicks, like fucking near maxing this kid out or goddamn near it, like where the Bull, he accepts that offer sheet and the Bulls obviously would not go near there. I don't believe, at least with Zach on the horizon of getting paid, and they couldn't. But it could always be a 3-team deal as well. And a lot of people don't talk about that. It could always, another team can come in and you could make it a 3-team trade and Lonzo could still end up here because I'm balling the family, man. I want it. I want it badly. Yeah. I want it very, very badly. I want somebody who can defend at the guard position next to Zach, somebody that could shoot the 3 at a decent clip because I know he has his bad nights, but the guy was 38%? 37% from 3, 38% from 3 this year. I know his field goal percentage ain't nothing. We're not going to talk about that. But, he does do well. And even when he is initiating an offense, we saw it in LA and we saw it a little bit in New Orleans. Assist to turnover ratio is decent. He knows how to run an offense. He makes great passes. He's smart with the ball. He can play on both ends of the floor for the most part. He's somebody I'm interested in. But when it comes to Kobe White, I just got to say is like when we saw him starting pre-Zach COVID, I've said it on the show a million times. It always felt like he was struggling within himself, not within the system. That he was just like, do I score or do I initiate the offense? And that's something I think that came back and kind of bit him in the ass where he got put on the bench.
Yeah. You wonder what would have happened with that had Zach not gone into health and safety protocols. Would we have stuck with Sato, who I still don't think so, Jordan.
Yeah. Jordan was trying to talk. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ross. I still don't think your mic's good, boss.
You guys can't hear me at all?
No, we can't hear you, Jordan. I have no idea what his mic is all messed up. It's kind of funny.
It sounds like you're whispering to me in a loud arena, and it's like if I wanted to put my speaker in my ear, I could hear you clear, but other than that, it's not very clear.
Right. Yeah. No, we can't hear you at all, brother. But I guess what I look at too with Arturas's comments, I don't realistically see Troy Brown Jr. being he could be a starter. I mean, I guess that's possible.
He's just as young. I think he's 21.
Well, right.
I'm
not taking age away from him, but think about his presser, guys. He said it needs to be a change. I don't think he wants to go out next year with what's going to be not a prove it year because we know what Zach fucking does. But a year he really wants to compete with the 31-year-old Nikola Vucevic. I did it again, right, Burke? I did it right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. All right. All right. But I don't think he's going to want to go out there and, trot that team out with them and hopefully fight for – I don't know if they're going to do the play-in next year. I know this is a COVID season. It was kind of odd. I really hope they don't. I mean, you did have a great tweet on that earlier, Ross, with the everybody loves drama thing.
Yeah. So I mean, looking at the ratings, I guess, from the game last night and just watching it, it was a fucking great game. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, like the MLB, I think, has a really good playoff format that the NBA could benefit from because first round matchups are kind of boring. If we're being real about it, nobody really watches them. At least casual fans, they don't tune into that kind of stuff. But a 1-game elimination, wild card scenario is super exciting. And to your point, Buzz, about prove it year with Zach, it's a prove it year for the Bulls to prove it to Zach that you want to stay here and you don't want to walk in free agency. So that's what AK's job is this offseason, is prove to Zach, we're going to win. You want to stay here. You don't want to go to another team and form a super team or whatever. You want to stay here.
Right. I mean, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So one of my kids just fell. I don't know if you heard that. But yeah, it's
hoping it was a book and not a child. But yeah, I think we all heard it loud and clear.
Yeah, no, I was guaranteed Ren. She's crying. But anyway, so I look at what Arturas said in his press conference and how firm he was about competing, and that's something where I kind of look at it and I'm like, dude, I think this dude's gonna fucking swing like he did at the trade deadline. He's gonna do something. What that is, I don't even know if I could speculate on it. We've been married to Lonzo for a while. Through rumors and whatnot, we're not in the front office. We don't know how true it is or whatever like that, but we've been married to him for a while. I don't know if he considers that a big swing or what he's going to do. I mean, is a Mike Connolly a big swing? Are you willing to pay that man? Is he even going to leave you? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't want this to turn into the Lonzo show, but you said there's rumors of the Knicks thinking about maxing him. If that's the case, the sign and trade's off the table. It's not like the Pelicans can be like, oh, no, Lonzo, you can't sign that offer sheet for a max contract that nobody else wants to pay you. We want to trade you to the Bulls. You can't do that. If he signs that offer sheet with the Knicks, it's either the Bulls have to pay him that, the Pelicans have to pay him that, and only the Pelicans can override either the Bulls or the Knicks. But if the Bulls or the Knicks want to be the highest bidder, Lonzo can pick between the two. So that's kind of the situation where the Knicks are like, no, we're not going to do a sign and trade. No, we're not going to let the Bulls get in this. They're projected to have 20 to 25 mil. We'll give them 26. So unless they want to send Thaddeus Young down the road just to get Lonzo Ball and cut their entire team,
I was going to say.
Because at this point, we're already going to be paying Sato probably $5 million to just go away so we can have $5 million to pay somebody else. It's pretty fucked up to think about, but that's a real possibility.
Well, what are your guys' thoughts on Thad Young? Because when we signed him originally, and that was the 2019-2020 NBA season, I wasn't like over the moon about Thad Young. Okay. I mean, like, it was the same feelings I had on Garrett Temple. I put out a tweet when we signed Garrett Temple. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get this 6 points per game and decent defense. Like, I felt bad about it because he was a very, I guess I undermined what a vet could bring to the team. And that's fair. I think I could say that. And I did. But with Thad Young this year too, because, Boylan kind of fucked him around a little bit, and it was a little ridiculous if you ask me. It didn't make sense when he put Thad in or took Thad out. Thad could never get into a groove, but you saw him get into a kind of groove this year. Obviously, he's not a be-all, end-all, but he's a good guy to have on your bench. Would you like to see him back next year if they could keep him and still somehow make a swing for something that will drastically improve the team?
If you can, you do it. Zach likes him a lot.
Yeah.
And that's that's, like I said, you got to keep Zach happy. That's what this offseason is all about, is keeping Zach happy. It's planning for the future. And like, I know that a lot gets made about free agency the following offseason in 2022. When, guys like KD are going to be available. Yeah. Like, everyone is going to be available. I don't know how available those guys will actually end up being. But that is a concern I'm sure AK is experiencing. Like, do we just kind of keep the core guys around this offseason and make a big splash in 2022 when another, Sato, and I think that'll be off the books at that point too. Like, you're going to open up a bunch more cap space. But if you can keep that, you keep that. If you can, you can.
I just think that with that Vucevic trade, that kind of was an attempt to kick the window open a little earlier than next year.
Yeah.
Or the competitive window. And I think it's going to take a trade to help free up space and get things moving, whether it's Kobe and Thad, and maybe, if you want to keep Thad around for his veteran presence, maybe Tice is another piece that you got to go with. Say goodbye.
That's a lot of, a lot to unpack there, because Tice, were you guys blown away by him too?
I
really liked him.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
I was going to say, that's why I'd kind of be fine if we do let Thad go away, knowing that Tice is there. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be as, cool with Thad Young leaving if we didn't have a guy like Tice there that could fill in that role, that's going to fill in at power forward and at center to back up Vucevic and whoever we maybe bring in or to replace Lowry.
So, and we touched on how close Zach and Thad are. And we also touched on a little bit of next year. Thad's contract expires this year. Does Thad like Zach enough to where the Bulls paid him $14 million a year for multiple years? They didn't cut, that money off the top from him and cost him a couple $1 million in taking a veteran's minimum or an exception somewhere to where he would take a veteran's minimum, an exception going forward to stay with this team long term, to continue to be that veteran presence. Because if that's the case, then I think you guarantee that man his full contract this year.
Yeah.
You compete, and you think about bringing Kevin Durant in here, who has talked about that. Because you bring Kevin Durant in with Patrick Williams at the 4, KD at the 3, Vooch at the 5, Zach at the 2. You could throw anybody at the fucking 1, and you still have a year of Kobe on a rookie contract that year, I believe. You could have coming off of the bench. And if you have Thad on a veteran minimum contract, you got a pretty fucking stacked team there. So, big picture, maybe you roll over this money. Maybe you find somebody like, I don't know if Conley would take a 1-year deal with a team option on it or something like that. Isn't he 36 or is he 34?
Yeah, but he's still playing at a good level. See, the good thing about Conley's game is it's not built off athleticism. It's literally built off of fundamentals, IQ, and I mean that's the thing with Mike Conley. That's why he's been as good as he's been for as long as he's been. Think back into his Memphis days. I mean, it's just that his game has never been built off that.
Well, how many years does John Wall have left on his contract? Do we know off the top of our head?
Probably one more, I think.
I think it was. I think Ross is right. I think it was one more. I'll pull it up. But he did actually like a tweet about getting out of Houston. I know that doesn't mean shit, but you do see things.
Yeah.
I'm on Pro Track right now, and I did mess up. Tice is actually a free agent this year. I thought he had one more year on his deal.
Well, your point was still right, though.
Yeah, no.
If you let go with that, you could look to pay Tice. And so,
I mean, how much does Tice?
He's a free agent in 2023.
God, $47 million player option.
Crazy. That's crazy. And I mean, a guy that I was looking at in the future too is someone like Westbrook when he's a free agent. Not now, not right now, but when he's a free agent. But like that, I mean, I don't know.
We wasted crossing that bridge this last offseason. You could have got Westbrook for cheap, like the Wizards did.
Yeah.
We could have made that move, and I know a couple people on Bulls Twitter actually did touch on that. And for most of the year, it was fun to make jokes about the Wizards being worse than us. And then out of nowhere, they got Daniel Gafford, and they just became superhuman. And then they left us on the outside looking in. But that Charlotte Indiana fucking game was very hard to watch, knowing that we should have been one of those two teams.
Well, we should have been. We should have been playing the Pacers, who we owned during the regular season.
Yeah,
I feel very.
I believe we owned our chances.
Yeah, we were 2-1 against them. I felt very good about our chances against the Pacers and the Hornets. We own the Hornets too. Throw whoever you want at us. We would have beat them. Zach LaVine, if he hadn't gone to the health and safety protocol, we would have been there.
I agree with that sentiment. I really do. I know
and
they were
back to
struggling
earlier, I think we'd be remiss not to point out the fact that Zach LaVine did have an ankle injury when we acquired Vooch. So he forced himself to continue to play and tried to play through that, and to a degree hurt the team trying to play through it because he just didn't have the lift on his jump shot that he usually has. And then he got put in the protocol. So we really didn't get a good glimpse outside of that 3-game win streak that might have cost us like 15% in the lottery. No big deal.
Losing Trey Brown Jr. is underrated too. He was forming a lot of chemistry. He was cracking the starting lineup, if I recall correctly. He was closing games at the very least.
He was closing.
Yeah. So like that was a really underrated loss. It was just a sequence of unfortunate events, honestly. But that's why I feel confident going into next season. Like people make a lot of hullabaloo about like so many holes. There's so many problems. Hullabaloo.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What is that?
that is a lot of smoke, a lot of talk, a lot of mythology about the problems with the cap this offseason, which I'm rolling into the word hullabaloo.
Yes, you're gonna have to send me that one. I'm gonna have to have that one.
Yeah, I will.
I'm gonna spook the shit out of some people at the dispensary with that one. You're gonna have to cut out the hullabaloo.
I got it straight from the thesaurus, man. But yeah, just like looking at like all of the complaining that people do about what needs to be done in the offseason, honestly, I feel like it's really not that big of a deal. Like there are a lot of good pieces that are already on this roster under contract going into next season.
Yeah, the bad thing is we brought up Tice before and the Thad thing. We do know that Tice is an unrestricted free agent, so that's kind of rough. And I mean, he played really well. I could see a team giving him more money than the Bulls or, whatever Arturis is planning and Mark Eversley's planning. I feel like Mark Eversley just gets like no credit whatsoever. Yeah. No one ever says it.
It's dust under the rug.
I'm going to have to change my name to Mark Eversley Fan Club. No one's going to follow me though. But, because everybody forgets about him. But, I mean, there's so many different things that they could possibly do. I got an instant chub when you said the Durant thing. I'm like, oh God, that'd be great.
Hey, there's that picture of him in that Kukoc jersey wearing number 7. The Bulls would be chasing number 7. If that isn't like foreshadowing at its finest, I don't know what the fuck is, man.
Okay, and then he always has to drop some like nuggets every now and then, like, oh, I really like the young talent on that team, really exciting young team. Like, come on, man, don't flirt with me if you're not going to go out with me.
We saw what Zach almost put himself in the category with Kyrie and KD to be the only players with 25, 5, and 5 with 50, 40, 85 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Zach came up like 2 shots short, and there was a couple heaves in there or something that kind of blew it for him. But Zach's younger than Kyrie, right? I mean, he's healthier than Kyrie. So maybe this is a place that Zach comes to. You got the veteran in Vooch, who has a descending contract. Like, Vooch is going to make $22 million in the last year of his contract. That is fucking like another thing about that trade that, is easily forgotten is he gets cheaper every year, and it should keep up with his minimal decline.
Right. I mean, I think we're leaving a very good point out too. I think that if you want to build a championship contender, you need to bring back Big Chris. I don't know how everybody feels about that here. I'm sorry. I had to get one in. I usually get one in an episode.
Hey, if he'll take a minimum, fuck it. Let's do it.
For him to never play, the GOAT.
The GOAT, baby.
The bench GOAT.
But yeah, there's so many different things the Bulls could end up doing. And it's just, as I go up and down the roster, I'm just going to name some names for you guys. We'll play a little game here. We'll go around table with it. But, on guys that you think will be back or if you want them back, we'll put it that way. So we'll start. We know that Zach LaVine and Vooch will be back. We've already spoke our piece on Kobe White and everything. We obviously know Patrick Williams will be back. So let's start. Garrett Temple. Would you guys like to see him back, or do you think he'll be back?
I don't see a need to bring him back. We have bigger fish to chase at this point. So I don't really see the need.
Burke?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. We do a bigger fish, but if it came down to it, I wouldn't be upset, if it happened, but.
Goose?
Hey, I mean, if he digs it here enough to where he's going to take a veteran's minimum, and it's not going to cost the Bulls anything in terms of cap availability, and he's willing to just sit on ice, yeah, man, get your signings done. I'll take the minimum. I like it here. Then hell yeah. I mean, I think he's a serviceable player. He's not somebody that I'd covet in free agency. You could probably even say, hey, if Javonte Green's willing to take a minimum, but Garrett Temple wants a little bit more, take Javonte Green instead, just because that youth and pop is more, evident there with a guy like that. But I mean, the Bulls might get lucky. We might see Marko Simonovic. There we go.
There we go, Burke. Burke is the name guy. Whether I mess up baseball names or basketball names, he always picks me up.
Because I do know a little Croatian and Serbian there, or at least I know the pronunciations. So
all right, good. Yeah. So anytime I say Marco, you're just going to throw that ending on there for me. There, hey, timing's on point too.
That Marco Polo, we're going to play Marko Simonovic.
So there you go. If bring him over on a minimum contract, there's a nice way you could fill out the back end of this bench if you just get one big name. But I don't know how they do it because, like we said, our Durant dream is dead if we overpay Lonzo Ball and have to send the Pelicans something in a sign and trade. That kind of scares me in that situation. Knowingly overpaying somebody and then having to give up some kind of asset to make that team okay with just saying fine.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, for me on Garrett Temple, he could go. He built enough bricks to build a fucking new house for me. I'm good on that.
That one game.
Yeah, that one.
If we get better defensive options in free agency, he's good to be gone.
And I like TBJ and I like Javonte Green too.
Yeah.
And those and Javonte Green, if you could look up his contract, Burke.
If I'm not, we have his bird rights.
We do.
Not positive.
I'm pretty sure, but wasn't he?
I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. If I
he is a free agent. Yeah, he was. He made $898,000 this year. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see if we could possibly get him back. Not that he's a key rotational piece, but I liked what I saw out of him. He plays hard, and I think he could bring you the same.
We can offer him a qualifying offer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd bring him back over Temple. Yeah,
I would too.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, Lowry marketing. We kind of spoke our piece on that too. I know a lot of people didn't touch on it a lot, because we just kind of skimmed over him because that was basically the season. For him was kind of, he starts off hot. He's averaging 19 points, like 6 boards and shooting 50%, just kicking ass. And then he had the health and safety protocol thing with him, Archie, and Sato. And then he got hurt, and then he just kind of fell off again. But in my opinion, I like Lowry. I did. I think it's time in best interest for both parties here, which you don't see a lot. But in best interest of both parties, I think Lowry's gone. Ross, what you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but get him off my team, please. I'm just kind of done with it. I was so excited for his potential. I live in Tucson, which, U of A, people here love Lauri Markkanen. They're super high on him. Like my father-in-law is like, Lauri Markkanen should play really good defense. He played for Sean Miller. Like, no, he doesn't do that at all. That's not what he does. So I'm like you said, I'm excited to see maybe if he gets a change of scenery, he can turn his career around. Still think he has potential, a big man who can shoot it. And I feel like he lost a step. He used to be faster. I don't know. He looks slow this season, but either way, it's in the best interest, both parties, to have a clean cut. And if we could get a sign and trade deal with him and maybe get some pieces back, like, hey, more power to it. I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. Burke?
No, exactly. I think any possibility of him coming back went away with that Vucevic trade. Where again, I know Buzz, you and I were very excited for the potential of having him on the floor with Vooch to be able to spread the floor and shoot better, and he just didn't live up to it. And like we were saying, Thad Young is going to be the better option, I think, next to Vooch. If you're telling me keep one or the other, so it's time for him to go.
Goose.
I mean, I think this book has been finished the end for a while here, probably since the trade deadline when he was dangled out there for any first-round pick possible to send to the Pelicans to get Lonzo Ball ahead of time to help this playoff push. But I did find, the presser interesting. The posturing there was, I don't know what to make of it. Was that the Hail Mary attempt to get a Mirotic situation where you get this guy at $10-11 million because his flaws were exposed, and then you can salvage that value instead of just seeing him walk? And then maybe Lowry comes in slimmer with Billy's willingness to play him at the 3, and we see that step picking back up instead of bulking up to be more in the post. Maybe he just embraces and owns the fact that, fuck it, I'm just a shitty perimeter defender, but I got to hit these shots and I got to be quick enough to keep up with these smaller guys at least and use my size. So I do think there is that small Hail Mary in there that Lowry doesn't get a big offer somewhere. He doesn't see the money he wants, and the Bulls get him cheap enough on a 2+1 or something not too long term, and maybe you salvage something there. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
No, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. I definitely think he's gone, but it's definitely possible. Our boy Chai Sports Fan is in the chat here, and he put the regular heartbeat thing for Lowry could be into play, and that is very true. I did forget about that. There's multiple articles on that from the past. He also put, the real question is, what do I do with my Lauri Markkanen jersey that I won drunkenly at the Bulls Open practice? If he is won, I will give that away to a lucky winner on Bulls on Tap.
If Lowry's going, he's got to go to the Spurs because I got like a couple $1,000 worth of rookie cards that aren't worth a couple $1,000 anymore.
So it's an investment for you too.
Yeah, let's re-get that going here, Lowry.
I feel your opinion is skewed because you're falling to the almighty dollar right now.
Hey, Lowry, you either need to get your shit together or you need to buy these off of me. Got some like 101s and some 5s.
With the contracts he's looking at, he can't afford it.
Jesus.
It's mean. I know.
Top rope.
With AK, like what he said in the press conference, I think maybe it's a Hail Mary to try to salvage some trade value. Everything that I've heard AK talk, and I've heard AK talk a lot, everything I've heard him say, he values versatility. He values players who can play on both ends of the court, who can switch between positions.
Yeah,
Lauri Markkanen fits none of those categories.
You're absolutely right.
But
he is a stretch 4.
Either of our 2 stars currently.
I think Zach can rotate between the 2 and the 3. Vooch is pretty. Yeah, I mean Vooch he is a 5, but he is a good 5.
At least he's consistent offensively.
Yeah.
They're the best, but they just don't fit the mold that AK. I guess Vooch does because he's kind of like Jokic's second cousin.
Right.
He
Like
can not only
that
score,
kind of
he can pass
right.
too,
The inside-outside game is kind of what I'm talking about. Like Laurie doesn't. I mean, we wanted him to have that inside game. Like that was the key to unlocking his potential. Like back someone down. This guy's smaller than you. Just fucking back him down.
Hey, I watched Draymond Green fucking break a layup on Alex Caruso last night, and I was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Well, hey, Caruso, there's a free agent right there. Caruso.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I don't know. I don't want skinny Elmer Fudd, but I guess if that's where we go, that's where we go.
I mean, maybe he takes a Vetman too. You never know.
Yeah, that's actually very true. And when you bring up about Lowry in the post, so many post games, because we do a post game after every show. Like during the off season, we usually do it weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, just when shit kind of dies down for the Bulls. But like every night, I felt like I was bitching about Lowry not demanding the ball against a guard off a switch in the fucking paint, and he'd never do it. And I was just God. I'm like, dude. I'm like, you got a bucket right there. You have a bucket. Call for the ball. Don't run to the perimeter, please. And he just every single time, every single time. And that's, again, if there are Lowry fans out there, I promise you have my word right now. It's not just because I am drinking this awesome Represent Sour from the Nate Diaz camp. So good. You guys should get this from Craft Beer King. So goddamn good. But I will we'll do a giveaway for that jersey if he's no longer a Chicago Bull, because I won't be able to look at it. I don't buy jerseys anymore that aren't Legends jerseys. So like nothing will. I think the last player jersey I bought was Jimmy Butler, and that was like literally the last one. It has to be a legend like Rose or Jordan or Pip or Kirk Heinrich. Heinrich is
Lowry
a legend.
Legend isn't a legend.
No, he's not. Lowry Legend is
no jersey.
Lowry Legend from the White Sox is a legend, but not Lowry Legend. No, that doesn't work out. So we touched on Thad and we touched on Tomas Satoransky. So let's talk about everybody's favorite chucker, Denzel Valentine. He's most certainly gone. Are we right?
We already touched on him too. We're seeing him get destroyed by Pat Williams in the summer league playing for the Shanghai Sharks.
I love it. I love it. He's not going to hit that fadeaway jumper for the win. Pat's going to have the hand in his face, maybe block it into his face. I like that idea.
Oh my God. That was like, it's so funny to me, boys. Like, think about how long ago that was. And like, I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. I know it's summer league, but okay, I could see it. And then when he got on that court in the NBA, I'm like, oh, he was a lottery pick? He's a fucking
that is at this age, like he hasn't just accepted his role. His ego still gets in the way because he is a talented player.
Right.
I mean, make arguments that he was the best passer on this fucking team. And like he shows certain things and you're like, yeah. And then you get 5 things in a row and you're like, fuck, get the ball out of this guy's hands.
Yeah. He takes 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. That's Denzel.
Maybe even more than 2.
Maybe more than 2. I get why Billy was giving him minutes too, like to a certain degree. Eventually it got to be too much. But like I get it. Like he can pass, he can defend, he can shoot sometimes. It's just like you said, his confidence. He just gets this crazy ego. He hits a shot and then he thinks, "Oh, I can just shoot a pull-up jumper when we need to take a good shot at the end of a game." Like, dude, just stop doing that. So he's gone. He's 100%.
I feel like he has his rap songs going on in his head, and he's just like, you guys have been like that when you're driving, right? You hear a song.
He never left Summer League, man. He hit that shot in Summer League. He just never left.
Yeah.
He thought he was going to do that for the rest of his life, and it just hasn't happened since.
I always like to think I live in an alternate reality too, but I don't, unfortunately.
Did you guys listen to the album?
No.
I listened to like 3 songs off of it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was no more, no bueno.
I listened to the whole thing. I put a review out. It's somewhere. I tweet a lot. It's somewhere. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 10 because the features carried the whole album. And like, I don't know, he has the confidence. He just can't rap. It's kind of like basketball. Like he has the confidence and he just can't play.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Ryan Arcidiacono got a little bit of he'll be back. He will be back. Alfred Camino, I think he gets stretched, and our friend Ryan Borgia told us about that. That's a realistic option. If you guys do not follow Ryan Borgia at the Bulls GM on Twitter, you should. That dude is a salary cap guru. I've known him for quite a few years now on Twitter. He's absolutely amazing. So he could be stretched. I could see that definitely happening and him not being with the team because he only appeared in like 6 games.
All right. How close can we get to John Wall's 40 whatever million? If you send Aminu, Satoransky, who they could then cut, you're already at 20 mil there, right? So you're like halfway home, and then you have cap space. Could you finagle that a little bit? I mean, I don't know that I really want to, but could you do it?
John Wall.
I don't
John,
want to.
dude, I know,
No.
and it's desperate as all hell.
No.
But he's on the same timeline as Vooch, so
That has stink to it, like desperation stink, like BO.
But if you're getting it for Aminu and Satoransky's expiring salary, I mean, you're trying the Otto Porter over again in your position of need with a star-level player. Are you telling me that Mike Conley is that much better than John Wall? If John Wall was healthy and motivated for next season to get another contract in the NBA after his multiple years of $40 million are finally evaporated, you're telling me that wouldn't be something more appealing than getting fucking Ricky Rubio? Like, there has to be at a certain point where that swing is more appealing than something else.
I'll tell you an appealing swing right now. Fucking John, I'll fucking go sign Derrick Rose.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go sign Derrick. Yeah, I'll go sign fucking Derrick Rose because I think Derrick Rose is better than John Wall. Even
if somebody will be allowed to wear number 1 again?
Yes, absolutely. No one should wear number. That's my opinion. Derrick Rose.
It should be retired.
Yeah, I know he was obviously at a short. If you look at it realistically, guys, it was a short stint here comparing to what what we wanted his career to be. Okay, but I still take 9 times out of 10 2 blown out knees for Derrick Rose over fucking John Wall. And Derrick Rose knows his game now, and he knows what he needs to be and what he has to be. He's still a dog. He still gives it effort. I mean, he's playing for Mr. Work himself and Tom Thibodeau. There's a reason Tibbs goes after him every time.
So do you think Derrick would take an inflated 1-year deal to come home?
Like, if he did, I'd shit my pants.
I don't think he would. I think he's staying with the Knicks. Yeah. I think he's a Thibs lifer. I mean, he's going to follow him wherever he goes.
And I still think that we would need more of a better facilitator than Rose. That's hence why a Mike Conley or a Lonzo Ball seems a better fit to me.
He's still a 6 man at the end of the day. I mean, that's his role. And I love the guy. And I think his number should be retired. John Wall, though, just please, no. We agreed he has a 2023 player option, right?
Yeah, 47 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna, he's gonna take it. He's gonna pick that up.
Yeah.
100%.
He'd be dumb not to. He has 3 seasons left.
Yeah.
You are tying so much money.
If it was two, it would be more intriguing. 3 seasons.
If you want to make a run at Kevin Durant, you can't be paying John Wall $15 million.
No, we can't. We just can't do that. Oh God, I would. That might be the moment.
Send John Wall to the Nets in a sign and trade with a picks, and like here's John Wall. You can still contend in the East, and you get some draft compensation. But KD's leaving your ass.
Kyrie and John Wall.
And then you can trade Kyrie and rebuild, and then John Wall's stuck sitting there taking a buyout.
Oh, if they all leave, okay.
You are smoking something good. You're smoking something good tonight because that is insane. Nobody's.
Well, John Wall could easily get bought out in this offseason, too. He was.
That's actually been rumored. That's been rumored.
He wants out. So, I mean, that is true.
So if we could get him cheaper, that would take an inflated 1-year deal.
Yeah. You get him cheaper, I'm on board with that. Just trading for that contract, I don't like.
I didn't like John Wall from the
beginning. What if you get draft compensation back for Sato and Aminu? What if they're sending Wall and a first?
Which year first?
Where are they sitting in the lottery this year?
Well, I mean, they're booty. Yeah, they're top 3. They're booty.
Yeah, they're gonna be
3. But don't they owe this pick to somebody?
No, they have front. They have
like 90 picks.
Yeah, because they're all picks like in the next couple seasons. They traded away later picks. When they traded, was it the Westbrook trade? It was the Westbrook trade. Those were like further down the line though.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want John Wall though. Like just as a player, I don't like John Wall.
Well, I mean, and by all person, he might not be the greatest person either. But
I just don't think that's a move that helps because I mean he's got health issues bad.
Big, like what can you do? Like
I understand the
Lonzo Ball
big aspect.
Like Lonzo Ball. Well, does Mike Conley want to leave the Jazz? They had one of the best records in the NBA. They got that flow. No. He probably wants to actually legitimately compete. He doesn't want to come be a short-term savior. Yeah. So
it depends how they do in the playoffs too.
With
the Jazz.
I think Utah makes a pretty good run personally. I think they're a pretty fucking talented team, man. They play great
deep.
basketball. Yeah, they are deep. So I mean, we've talked possibilities and stuff like that, and like I said, I went through everything. I'm looking at contracts. I'm looking at anything I possibly can. Superstars that might be on the way out.
All right. I got a free agent for you.
Go
Dennis
for it.
Schroeder.
No.
I'd rather have TJ McConnell.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No Dennis Schroeder.
I like TJ McConnell, but I mean, the reason
I'm just going through guys.
Brother, I don't know if I could do it, man.
Well, he's going to command a bunch of money. So I wrote an article on Schroeder on Tap about a month and a half ago, and that was when the Lakers had come out, or not the Lakers themselves, but rumors, about the Lakers were coming out. He's going to walk from the Lakers, whatever. And the Bulls were listed as a possible destination for him. So I wrote an article on it, brought up all of his career stats and whatnot. Schroeder can score pretty decently. He is kind of a bulldog. He does play physical, but again, it's just when you look at over-the-top moves and what AK has said about wanting to compete, does he move the needle for any of you? Because he doesn't move it for me. I just don't see it, dude. I don't see him making the team better.
But that's the trap this offseason is there's nobody that really moves the needle, and that's why we traded for Vooch, and that's why I stand behind that trade still being positive despite the short-term outcome not being what we all expected.
You see, that's a great point too. I mean, you're for the trade. I've been for the trade. Ross, I know you're for the trade. Burke, I know you're still for the trade. I mean, there's a lot of people that hated that because of where the Bulls could have possibly been pick-wise. But again, they were floating around the 8th seed at the All-Star break, guys. I mean,
when you made the trade, you weren't in the lottery. You
Right.
weren't even sniffing the lottery. Me, everybody on Bulls Twitter thought that the East was so bad that we weren't going to be able to fuck up not at least being 10th.
Right.
We thought there was no possible way that we were going to miss that goal. So, like we just touched on, you added Nikola Vucevic, which is not a caliber player that's going to be available readily in free agency ahead of time.
Right. That's a move that Garpax would never make. And I mean, there are people who still hate the trade. Trust me, they're in my mentions every fucking day because they think I'm him, which is just insane. But
they don't read the fan club part, huh?
They don't. They just read Arturas. They call me Arturas.
His last name isn't Karnisovas. It's Fan Club.
It's Fan Club.
It's Fan Club, exactly. I mean, I'm still a huge fan of the trade. Like you said, it was a totally different scenario when we traded for him. I'm still a fan of the trade. And then everything we're talking about right now in free agency, these are all second options. These are all backup options. The number one option is still Lonzo. Like, that is the goal.
Yeah.
This is all, if we get Lonzo, the rest is gravy. But if we don't get Lonzo, I mean, we got to look at guys like, TJ McConnell, like I said.
Or Dennis Schroeder. With Lonzo, and I know we didn't beat the dead horse with Lonzo too bad, like we did before in previous episodes.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
But it's the only option, so it's hard not to.
Right. I mean, him coming here, I think benefits Zach. I think it benefits Vooch. I really do. And I'm honestly, in a small ball lineup, I'd be fucking tickled pink, bro, to see fucking Lonzo, Zach, and Kobe in a small ball lineup together. And then
you hide Kobe.
Yeah, you do. Thank you. You hide Kobe White. And then you have Pat in there. Shit. That would be a great lineup to fucking trot out there as a lineup at some points if TB, you need more scoring and not have TBJ in, if he is the guy that will be your 3. I mean, there's so many options with he's a versatile cat and he's a big dude. So, I mean, it's something that I'm still on heavily because I do, not because I'm like, oh, he's bringing us to a championship, but it lays foundation for a competitive team for a superstar in 2022 to be like, okay, if Arturas gets creative and he could find out a way to get one of these motherfuckers that, they're like, okay, I see what the Bulls are cooking over here. They were competitive with A, B, and C. They're playing this kind of ball right now. I could see inserting myself into here and really making a run at it. And that's what I'm looking at. Because to your point, Goose, like next year, could it be just a kind of a throwaway if they don't make a big move? I think Lonzo is I would say it's not a massive move, but I would say it is a big move. And I'd like to see it. And it's all about laying the groundwork for the future. Because if you can have a guy like Vooch, because let's be honest, guys, I don't think Vooch, he's 31. He's not old. I mean, in NBA terms, like, I'm old as fuck now because I'm about to be 30 in July, but it's cool. Like, I'm not upset. That's not why I drink all the time, because I'm old. That's, that's not it at all. But, but like, I see his game kind of like would you say it's fair to kind of like a POW game? He's not a guy.
I was going to say that.
He's not a guy that's built off of this crazy athleticism. Look at Dwight Howard, who was so dominant. Now he's a bench piece, and some of these bigs in the NBA. I mean, poor DeMarcus Cousins with all his injuries, because I thought he was going to be really good. He was. Yeah, I like Boogie too. He was good for years, but Vooch is a guy. If you show that you're trying to compete, he was always loyal with Orlando. Orlando fucking blows all the time for the most part. I know they got in the playoffs. I mean, I can't talk too much shit because we've blown for some years too. But having a guy like that, bringing in Lonzo, showing Zach that you're trying to be competitive and put pieces that complement his game around him, that could open it up to 2022 free agency as being a real motherfucker and maybe making some moves. So I think that's realistically the best part we can go, because we're not trading anything. We just got rid of a couple picks, 2 first-round picks for Vooch. We're not trading anything for a superstar this year unless that superstar comes over in a Zach LaVine deal, and they're not moving on from him.
Well, you can't even trade the 2022 until it's on the clock anyway.
Right.
So you'd be looking at 2025, 2026. And I think you're probably saving that ammo for something else.
Yeah. Firsts aren't getting traded right now for this team.
No, you're absolutely right. They're not. I mean, so this is the realistic route that they're going to try to go. And the only way it gets stopped is if the Knicks or another team, I'm just saying the Knicks, because I fucking hate the Knicks, and then they're going to try to spite us. But if they go in and they pay him.
How are you bringing back Derrick Rose, giving Lonzo Ball a max-like contract, and backlogging Emmanuel quickly? So how is that working?
It's Knicks fans, bro. They thought they were getting Zion, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie in the same offseason. It's Knicks fans. They don't know basketball. They don't know what they're talking about.
And that's kind of been my stance, is at least for Lonzo, I do think Chicago has to be more appealing. Does Lonzo come off as somebody that would rather play for work? Or Billy, hey man, where do you want to be? Oh, you want to be on ball? You think you're better with the ball in your hand? Fine, bro, let's try that. Do you think he's more open to that? And then you have more competition for the job that you want in New York with Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickly than you do in just Kobe White and Satoransky's cap hit, because he's going to be paid to go away. So everything about the Bulls situation, if the money's close, I think it is actually a better fit for Lonzo. And that's not just a bias speaking. It's just there.
Right. No, that's totally fair. And a guy that you brought up, and that is Billy Donovan. And it's be the last person we kind of touch on. We've talked about moves. We talked about players that we want to see come back, or if we think they're going to come back. Let's talk about Billy Donovan this year. It's going to sound weird, man, but it's refreshing to see a coach, especially as a White Sox fan, take bullets for his players. If you think about it, because Billy blamed himself a lot this year, boys. He did. He was like, man, I got to be better. And I heard him say that a lot of times, and shielding players from, scrutiny or, anything like that. I know a lot of people in Bulls Twitter just constantly went after the lineups that he was in, but when things aren't working, you got to try something fresh out. And maybe it might not make sense to you right there and then. Understand the method to the madness. I know he's had a lot of talent in the NBA. He was in OKC with a triple-double machine in Russell Westbrook. I believe his first year there he had Kevin Durant, if I'm not wrong. I think Scott Brooks was gone. So
1 year.
Yeah, so he had KD for 1 year. He had a really good team. But then you go into the year that they got rid of Westbrook when he went to Houston, boys. And he had a young team over there. And they performed very well. Yeah. Billy, I'm still ecstatic about the Billy Donovan hire. And that's why I'm not even going to go into how do you guys feel about Arturas and Mark Eversley right now? Because we're all in the fucking same boat here, I think, for the most part. We're happy that we have a GM and a president, vice president of basketball operations that's going to pull the trigger and make these big moves if he can. And he brought in a head coach of Billy Donovan's stature that has proven to be a good coach, whether that was in a period where you're teaching players how to grow in college, having vets that already know how to play the game in his first few years in OKC, and then getting a young team in OKC and helping them thrive. I'm not worried about Billy Donovan. Just want to get everybody's opinion on that.
I like him. I was super, super hyped by the hire. There were a couple guys that I liked back then as up and coming coaches, assistant coaches on other teams. But when you get a guy who is a proven winner, for a team like this, in our scenario, you got to go after him. I don't think he'll be our coach for number 7 necessarily.
Okay.
But I do like the player development side of things. I do like how, like Goose, you're saying, he is a player first coach the guys like him. I think Zach LaVine really likes him, which is
Yeah.
huge. Once again, keeping him happy. So
Zach's
I mean-
going to get his first time with the consecutive year with the same coach. in his
That's
career.
fucking wild, isn't it?
insane.
That's
It's insane.
wild. 7 years in the NBA, guys. First time.
It's insane.
Wild.
And Vooch is coming off his best year as a pro. I mean, like I feel like that kind of gets lost on people. Like this was Vooch's best season, before the trade deadline, obviously. A full off season with Billy Donovan, Zach LaVine, building chemistry, Kobe White too. Yeah, I'm excited for the future with Billy Donovan. I don't know if he'll be the coach for number 7 necessarily.
Burke, before I get to you here, if you don't mind me asking another question here, Ross, about your thoughts on this, do you think that Zach's here for number 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I say that as a homer, and I say that as someone who wants it.
I love that you say you're a homer. I'm a homer
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So like I want that. So that's where that comes from. I would hate to keep kicking that can down the road. Arturas is 51. I don't know. I mean, it's like how far down the road are we going to think? I've been a Bulls fan my entire life. I know you guys are a little older than me. I wasn't alive or conscious during the Jordan years. So like that doesn't really mean much to me. As far as like my fandom and my experiences. So like
So
the
your fandom
Bulls
is all pain.
Yeah.
Well,
Besides Rose.
It's just all pain.
I fell in love with basketball watching like Kirk Heinrich and Ben Gordon, and then we got Derrick Rose, and like those were my teams, man. So like I've had some ups, a lot of downs, but like I don't want to keep waiting. I want to win. So I am super pumped by the idea of like Arturas, go out there and let's try to win. Build a team that can attract a superstar, because that's how you win now.
Yeah,
you build a team that's young and talented, and then you attract a superstar after making the playoffs. That's what you do.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you have now just become my little brother with that Kirk Heinrich and Ben Gordon comment. So you're under the wing now.
Legends.
Yes, absolutely. And when I love DG, but when he wore 12, I was a little broken. Burke, Billy Donovan thoughts.
So I like what Billy Donovan's done. Buzz, you're right. He has taken a lot of bullets, and that says a lot. And I think he's developed that culture and relationship with the players that they're not even used to. I mean, we got to remember a year ago, everyone was celebrating, and then Jimbo would walk by, and it was like he wasn't even there. Like they're not used to having a coach like that. I think the one positive going into this offseason is that it's not going to be as much of a whirlwind, because we do know who our coach is. Because you got to remember, our coaching board before Billy Donovan, became available was, like Ross said, a bunch of assistant coaches on other teams on some maybes. And then, we decided to go with Billy. And then it's like, hey, with looking at how AK handled things with the front office, the coaching staff, it was, hey, I'm going to see what's here. I'm going to figure out what I have, and then I'm going to start getting rid of people and doing that. And I think that's what you're going to see with the roster this year. And I think Billy's going to have a whole heck of a lot more input on that too, with, guys from, the top in like Alonzo Ball to, a guy just coming in on the bench like a Garrett Temple, that Billy's going to have his hands all over this now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with
that's
that.
how Billy ended up here. I mean, you heard him say it multiple times. Like, the ability to build something is why I wanted to be here. And especially in a place like Chicago, to have that ability is why we even have Billy Donovan. I know I didn't expect him to be here. I was thinking they were going to get Kenny Atkinson off, the fired pile or something like that. Maybe Nate McMillan, who probably would have been a great hire. I think he should be Coach of the Year candidate. I don't know if the award that went out the other night was the official one or not for the coaches.
I
think they do the end of year show or whatever.
Yeah, they do the end of the year.
Yeah, because Monty Williams got awarded something.
Yeah, I think it was Associated Press probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
So I think Nate McMillan could be in there, but other than those names that we heard briefly, Billy Donovan was the biggest hire I think we could have made this offseason, really.
Yeah.
So it was nothing but good stuff throughout the season, and his ability to connect to players is what we need right now to build the culture we need to bring in a star. And then he'll probably get sent out the door like Kenny Atkinson did in Brooklyn, and they'll bring in somebody that superstar wants, but that's just the process now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I wanted Dave Yeager. I know a lot of people were kind of on the fence
Yeager
about that,
too.
but I like Dave Yeager. I thought that he could have been a good option.
Got
But I love
fired from
Billy though.
Sacramento for being too good of a coach.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got fired for being
exactly.
too good at his job. It's unfucking
Exactly.
believable.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Nate McMillan too. He was actually fined, like our Taurus fan club over here was, for scrutinizing the coaches.
Right. Yeah.
Or not
Exactly.
the refs. I'm sorry,
The refs, right? Yeah,
the refs.
because we can't call people out for doing a horrible job.
That's so
Apparently.
unfucking believable that he got fired. I know 25 grand is like a quarter to us, to him, but that was so unbelievable. That game was poorly officiated. I know we're getting off topic, but it was so terrible. But that's all I have for this episode, guys. We went about an hour. We had an appearance from a very quiet Jordan Miller. Hopefully he gets that fixed next time he wants to come on. He's a Super Bulls fan. He listens to our show all the time. But I really appreciate you, Ross, you coming on, and Burke. I know you've been on the show like 20 million times. You're another member of the show. So I would like to, if it's cool with all you guys, during the off season, do this again and maybe even circle back with us for it, because I had a really good time. I thought we had a lot of laughs. Saw we had a lot of good points brought up, and it was just fun to do something different, man. Do a little end of the season show. And
You mean you don't like just talking to me all the time, man?
I do love talking to you, but ever since you moved that new crib in your background, you become kind of a dick. So
Sorry, I'll try to come back down there.
yeah, you're just kind of an asshole now that you're living in a fucking mansion with like a grand fucking piano over there. So
It's a nice piano.
Fireplace, vaulted ceilings.
Yeah, it's got that Denzel Valentine ego.
You're gonna go over there and start playing Beethoven on the piano and just get himself all fucking hyped and go take some 3-pointers outside and shit. But yeah, so that's all I got, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Ross. Just in case, which I'm sure everybody that listens to this already knows who you are, but just tell people where you're at on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be remiss not to mention, thank you guys for having me. This has been a great time. I'd love to do it again. But at Arturis Fan Club, all platforms, it's pretty easy to find me. I have a podcast too called In Arturis We Trust. I bring on Bulls fans all the time, and it's kind of like interviewing Bulls fans, which is kind of like what you guys are doing here too, which I love. So a lot of fun, and I'd be happy to have you guys on at some point too.
Oh, absolutely. And you also do Twitch too, is that correct?
Yeah, I do Twitch. I got YouTube. I'm on all the platforms. But yeah, I do live streams, sometimes post game. Well, not anymore, but
right.
Try to get on as much as I can.
Yeah, I don't do the Twitch thing. I don't do that, or TikTok. I don't know how. So I just kind of float with
Dude, I tried TikTok. It's not worth it. Don't even.
I've heard that so many times. But thank you for joining us, man. Everybody be sure you're going on tapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Bulls on Tap, at On Tap Sportsnet. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us, 5-star rating and review, because that's cool and tough. Next episode will be the debut episode of season 3, since season 2 is now wrapped of our show. Hopefully we have some great things to talk about when we come back. We'll probably do some NBA playoff breakdowns. Anybody that wants to join for that, you're more than welcome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you later. Let's go Bulls.